Today we're looking at one of the best points hotels that just announced a reopening and has a ton of availability. Also some great transfer bonuses if you want to fly, especially to Japan, and how a startup's new capital raise might be funding 3 new Bilt cards. This and more in today's roundup. Big favor, give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that might benefit, then share this with them. Starting off, if Tokyo's on your list, consider the Park Hyatt, which is now accepting reservations. This is arguably their crown jewel and their most storied hotel. It was the main backdrop in the movie Lost in Translation, so it's where the main characters connect with each other. In case you're curious, a lot of the scenes were filmed in one of the suites, and they just rearranged it. But yeah, otherwise the hotel in general is featured a lot, including even the gym. Even if you're not a movie buff, it's still a fancy hotel. If you think of Hyatt Regencies as the conference and business hotels with a big footprint and hundreds of options, then Park Hyatts are the luxury arm with 1/5 the footprint. These are not cheap hotels. For example, the Park Hyatt in New York normally runs about 1 to 2K per night, so pretty much in the same range as the Ritz-Carlton, which is 1.4 to 1.7, and the Waldorf Astoria, which is about 1.4. All of these are still a step down from the Amans of the world, but those are usually twice the price. So Park Hyatts are nice, and the Tokyo one being one of the top ones. Also weirdly impressed that they didn't lay people off for the almost 2 years of renovations, so they sent them off to other Hyatt properties. My understanding is that they're pulling them back in for the opening, so that's pretty cool. Okay, let's look at availability. Reminder that they too have a new points calendar, making it a lot more convenient. Let's start off December one night and use points. December, as a filming at least, is totally busted. What about January? Same exact thing. February though gets a lot better, and there's even one off-peak night of 35k points. But yeah, otherwise if you are going for a longer trip, 16th to 20th is a good 5-night range. Heading into March, it's pretty much wide open for the first half, and then it's not available afterwards. Main reason for the back half not being available is that it is Japan's Cherry Blossom Festival and their period, so it's a lot more people coming in. This does feed into April and making it a bit tougher for the first half, but then it reopens for the latter half. Right now, May is wide open, and I'm a bit surprised that April 29th to May 6th has availability because that's Golden Week. So for example, 3 to 6 or 3 to 7. If you're unfamiliar, Golden Week is the super holiday week. A lot of people fly back to Japan to see family and also travel within Japan itself to other major cities or back home and explore. In the US, we don't really have anything like this, but imagine that Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and spring break was all rolled into 1 week. But yeah, otherwise June and onward seems pretty wide open, so lots of options for the next 12 months. From the reservations I made, the base room is the 2 twin beds City View. It's going to run you 35, 40, or 45,000 points per night with no taxes and fees. We ended up booking 3 one-night stays, that way we can drop one of the nights if needed, depending on what happens for the rest of the trip. The value is pretty solid, but depends on you there. If you're paying out of pocket, the base room is about $1,500, and then about $1,600, $1,700 for the more premium ones. When you are paying out of pocket, there are taxes and fees, so it's about $400, which is pretty aggressive. All-in price being about $1,900. In our case, instead, we're paying 45,000 points. The math is pretty good. Based off the actual price, 1,900 divided by 45,000 points is 4.3 cents per point. That's the full sticker price that a lot of people pay. Our would pay number is a bit lower though, about 1,200 all in with taxes and fees, so divided by 45,000 points, that's still 2.6 cents per point, which is pretty good. Another way to frame it, which I think is a bit more fair, is 45,000 points is worth 450 in cash back via the bank points, so would I consider paying 450 for a night here a good deal or a bad deal? For the dates we're considering, yes, because even the mid-level brands are about $550 before taxes and fees and $700 all in. So for example, Hyatt Regency Tokyo and Hyatt House Tokyo Shibuya. And of course, you can find cheaper, but maybe we're also getting old. I feel like we're past the stage of the 200 per night tiny rooms where you don't have any room to move around, where you overheat and can't even open up your luggage without stepping over it to get to the bathroom. Funny enough, for our first trip together, Mandy and I, we did stay in a hotel exactly like this. In recent years, her tastes have gotten more refined. Your mileage may vary, but in my experience, keeping player 2 happy tends to be a good practice. Quick reminder, but if you are under 524 and you qualify for business cards, both the Ink Business Unlimited credit card and Ink Business Cash credit card have elevated offers. Both for no annual fee, and that's in year 1 and long term. You're going to get 900 cash back after 6,000 in spend in the first 3 months from account opening. Even though it's marketed as cash back, it's actually points. Each $1 in cash back is 100 points. That means that if you have other Chase cards, for example ones that transfer out to airline or hotel partners, you can actually get more value, especially for premium travel. Another way to think of this is that it's 90,000 points. The Ink Business Unlimited credit card is a great catch-all option for everything else. The Ink Business Cash credit card is great for office supply stores, internet cable and phone services, and also potentially gas stations and restaurants, depending on your other cards. The standard offer is a bit lower. So right now with the elevated bonus, you're getting an additional 150 or 15,000 more points than normal. On a side note, if you want to learn more about cards and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website asksavvy.com and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense, but otherwise it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. Moving to a lightning round, and speaking of points, there's a lot of transfer promos going on right now for City Thank You points. This includes Virgin Atlantic Flying Club, Avianca Life Miles, and Turkish Airlines Miles and Smiles. For all three, they run until October 18th, and you're getting 30, 25, and 50% more points. I would recommend running through use cases, planning the trip, and also looking for availability before transferring points, just to make sure that they don't get isolated. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. The best use of Virgin Atlantic is ANA First and Business from the US to Japan. Availability is a bit tougher, and you generally need to wait for drops for it to open up, or plan a year out, or maybe last minute for first. That's generally the catch of points and miles, the upside being the benefit. Note that you can't directly search for availability with Virgin Atlantic, but you can with United and Virgin Velocity, and those tend to be pretty good proxies since they often pull from the same pools. So for example, a bunch of SFO dates for next August if that's on your list. The benefit of Virgin Atlantic's chart compared to United is that it's a bit cheaper. For first class from East or Central, it's 85k points, and from West Coast, it's 72.5k. For business, it's 60k from East and Central and 52.5k from Western US. Hawaii also tends to be a lot easier for availability and a bit cheaper for price, so it could be a good thing if you're either from Hawaii or you want to make it a two-part trip. So for example, for first, 57.5k, and for business, 37.5k. They also run turtle planes for the Hawaii routes, which is a bit more unique. The best use of Life Miles tends to be Lufthansa First. First is 87k, business 63k, and economy 30k. Life Miles is a bit of a weird and finicky program, so be careful there and I'd look for data points first. Turkish is a bit more complicated and less ideal, so also be careful of that one. The best use case is inter-Asia, for example Singapore, or inter-US, so transcontinental, with let's say United. Qatar also has a promo, and it depends on how much you transfer, so bonus is 20, 30, or 40%. If you are going to transfer, I'd do at least 50k City, that way you're getting 70k Avios. The best use case is Q Suites to Doha, and last minute tends to be the easiest. But yeah, you do have a ton of options from Dallas, Boston, Seattle, Toronto, and Atlanta showing up at least right now. Also one of the better ways to do it at 70k. Compared to other programs like JetBlue, that might run you 90k or 98k. Number of seats also isn't too bad, so for example for Boston, there's 3. For this Atlanta flight, there's going to be 4 seats. Okay, finishing up with transfer partners, Capital One just added 3 new ones, bringing up the list to 22. New ones include Qatar as well as Japan Airlines, Qatar being 1-1, and then Japan Airlines being 1-0.75 as a standard, but there currently is a 30% transfer bonus until October 22nd, making it 1,000 to 975. Japan Airlines is a pretty big win since the other major banks don't have it as an option. Pricing is also pretty good, so for example, US to Japan is 55k for business, and that's going to be the entire US, whether you're in LA, San Francisco, or New York or Boston. Note that these are the base rates, so think of it as saver rates. Business is pretty straightforward, first is pretty complicated. Instead of a set price, they have seasonality, low, regular, and high season, and it's not even just specific months or busyness, it's by dates. It's not too bad to be honest though, so the entire month of April is low season outside of Golden Week. Same with mid-January to end of February. Funny enough, those are the times we generally go to Japan to ski. So end of January to beginning of February tends to be the best time to go to Niseko, and then we'd want to go to Cherry Blossom Festival, so it kind of works here. Cherry Blossom being end of March to beginning of April. In our case, we'd probably want to fly back from Japan, so that works. It's still not the cheapest though, at 110k for the entire US for low season, 125k for regular, and 140k for high season. The meta is probably New York or Dallas for a lot of people, given the distance and also the routes. If you are trying to fly Japan Airlines, I tried to fly their new product, and the first looks pretty amazing. Gigantic seat and also built-in speakers into the seat. Their new business also isn't bad, not as crazy, but still nicer than the old products. For the new product, the routing right now is New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, London, and Paris. New York is pretty tough for space, if not impossible. Dallas and LA are tough, but possible. Yeah, it can also change in the future. If you're looking for a new brokerage, Moomoo has a pretty good welcome bonus. You get between $20 and $1,000 in Nvidia stock, depending on how much you deposit. You also get 8.1% APY on uninvested cash for the first 3 months. There are terms to watch out for. For all the levels, you need to maintain assets for 60 days to get the bonus, but it feels pretty fair. The math isn't bad either. So for level 1, you're getting 20%, and annualized, that's 203%. The other levels are more reasonable, but annualized are still pretty awesome, considering that the long-term average annualized return for the US stock market is about 6 to 10%. Also a reminder that this can be invested, so you're not just holding cash. You could easily make a deposit, invest in a small basket of stocks, let's say 3 to 10 positions, and get the best of both worlds of the equity exposure, but also the welcome bonus. Offer runs until end of the year. I'll leave a link down below if you're curious. Last up and pretty fast is Cardless that just raised $60 million as a Series C. Total raised to date is $170 million, so not a small company. The reason this matters for us is that this is Bilt's new partner that they're swapping to. So originally they were with Wells, but they bled so much money that they basically agreed to part ways, and this is their new partner. The raise for Cardless, at least to me, means that there's more capital to play with and probably upside for us. There were a lot of doubts, and there still are, that the new Bilt cards with Cardless are not going to be competitive given this forced change. Best case, they make something viable and it's a win-win-win. Worst case, I think we still get value, Bilt still gets value or passes off the cost, and Cardless loses. The last public valuation from the November raise in 2024 was $30 million at $350 million valuation. It looks like they've been selling about 10% of the company for each of the rounds. If I had to guess, given the raise of $60 million, it's probably a $600 million valuation. And to be fair, this is not a fly-by-night operation. They've been around since 2019. Pre-seed and seed was probably the build of MVP, so minimal viable product, and to prove the idea. Series A is having a product and getting some traction and some users. Series B in 2021 is the big leagues where they have capital, and they're using that to get to partners. In fact, towards the end of 2021, they announced partnerships with NBA teams and a bunch of other sports ones. I'm not sure if they did C in 2 different tranches or what happened, if it's a C1, C2, or something else. I'm guessing the unit economics worked for them to do this new raise. Yeah, this isn't a small company. They're the stage where something works, at least on paper, someone's paper, so probably fine. More capital means more marketing and more competition, which also tends to mean more deals, which is a win in my book. Hopefully better intro bonuses across the board. Again, if you want to learn more about cards, we have links on the website, asksebi.com, and also down below in the description box. And if you're curious, all legal affiliate disclosures can be found below in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a cherry blossom emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. What are your thoughts on the Park Hyatt Tokyo? Have you been there? Are you excited for it? Or what's your favorite Park Hyatt or Hyatt hotel? Or I guess anything you've booked with Hyatt points. Number 2, are you taking advantage of any of the transfer bonuses? And if so, which ones and which flights? Number 3, what are your thoughts on the Cardless raise and what it means for Bilt? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favorite, thumbs up, share this, otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time.